Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. I don't live in New York City or state anymore. Even if I did, I have no right to tell anybody how to vote. I will never do that, and nor am I here to tell you that you should listen to me or that what I have to say matters. I lived in New York City and New York State and built a business there. I tried to build something from nothing back when I couldn't afford even the $400 a month termite fest that I was living in back in 2008 and 2009, and I just wanted to share something that really bothered me when I was reading about the election for mayor in New York City. So Andrew Cuomo, who used to be the piece of shit governor, talked about him every now and then on the channel, you may remember, he is now running for mayor of New York City. Nobody wanted him as the governor. He's gone as governor because nobody wanted him.
If she say no, you gotta go!
And I guess he figured, the next job for somebody who is a disgraced shitbag governor should be to be a disgraced shitbag mayor, because who the fuck ever likes the mayor of New York City? He's running, and he's running against the socialist named Zadam Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani is fairly a newcomer to politics, and he beats him in the Democratic primary. Now, to my more conservative-leaning friends out there who don't really understand how a socialist could beat him, even though New York City is left-leaning, the best way that I could put it, I forget who to quote for this, and I'm sorry for forgetting. I will put it in the pinned comment to give you credit if somebody reminds me. It's in the tip of my tongue. A populist anti-war socialist is always going to beat a fascist granny-killing rapist. That's the best way that I could think of to explain the New York City mayoral election to somebody who doesn't really live there, who wonders how the fuck is this happening. Anyway, he's running, he loses because he's a bag of shit. He decides I'm going to run as an independent because I lost a Democratic primary against Mamdani, and I got to win. What am I going to do? Now, am I going to fight on the issues, or am I going to take cheap shots? And of course, because he's Andrew Cuomo and he's a fucking piece of shit, he decides to take some cheap shots. So I wanted to dissect those cheap shots here in the channel. He goes, Zoran Mamdani, it looks like he lived in a rent-controlled apartment, even though he makes $140,000 a year. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come out with Zoran's law if I win as mayor. And we're going to say that if you are paying less than 30% your income for your housing, you do not get to live in this rent-stabilized housing. Now, since he came out there and did this, I decided to look up the numbers. I'm expecting there to be some shit on the news saying Mamdani had a fucking $900 a month apartment on 56th Street and Broadway in Manhattan that was rent-controlled. Do you know where he lived? Guess where he lived? Astoria, Queens, $2,300 a month. I'm like, what? Okay, firstly, the fact that rent control is $2,300 a month, the fact that we're even calling affordable housing $2,300 a month, let's just put aside how fucking ridiculous that is for a moment. And let's talk about Andrew Cuomo's proposed law. So if we're talking about 30%, that means you got to move, right? Let's say you make $90,000 a year. After taxes, it's going to be something like 52 weeks in a year, $1,200, $1,300 a week. If you make $1,300 a week in New York City under Cuomo's proposed legislation, and you live in rent-stabilized housing that's $2,150 a month, you gotta move. See, he's playing this bullshit game where he's trying to say Mamdani is insanely rich, and he's this crazy rich guy who's just living off of all of you. But I'm the man of the people. Bitch, you live in a place that's $90,000 a year. Cuomo lives in an apartment that costs $90,000 fucking dollars a year, and he's standing here trying to talk about how the other guy that he's running against, the reason you should vote for me instead of him is because he's stealing your money. He makes $140K. He used to make less than $100K, and he lives in a place that's $2,300 in Queens. I'm going to take a wild guess that Mamdani's home looks closer to the average voter in New York City than Cuomo's. And here's the thing, you fuckface. I'm a capitalist. I'm not a socialist. I'm okay with people making as much money as possible. But here's a question I have for you. If you want to talk about who's stealing from the people, how the fuck can you afford a $90,000 a year apartment as a fucking public servant? Because that's what you are. You're a public servant. You're a governor. I don't mind if a governor is able to afford a house. He puts his money in the S&P 500 assumption he could buy a decent place. How the fuck are you paying $90,000 a year for your place? Really? You're paying for that off of a book deal. The book that you wrote about COVID. Remember that? Remember the book that you wrote while you sent over 9,000 people to their deaths back in the nursing homes that couldn't even fucking test for COVID positive people? After you sent all those people to their death, then you fucked up the economy. You looked at everybody who wanted the ability to pay their rent and simply asked, after you shut down the entire fucking economy, I got this $2,000 to $3,000 a month of rent that I got to pay. How am I going to do that if there's no job?
Is there a fundamental right to work if the government can't get me the money when I need it? Is there a fundamental right
you want to go to
work?
work? Go take a job as an essential worker. Do it tomorrow. Right? You're working.
I am.
You're an essential worker. So go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of the
No, there are people
pandemic.
hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone.
You could get a job tomorrow. Get a job as an essential worker. Do it tomorrow. You fucking piece of shit. I guess he expects everybody to move too. If you make $90,000 a year and you live in a rent-stabilized apartment that's $2,150, that probably makes sense to you. You probably make about $4,500 a month after taxes. You pay about half that in your rent. Probably makes sense. I'm going to live in this place in Queens. But apparently, no. You got to move. Do it tomorrow. I bet he's probably going to look you in the face like he looked those people in the face and look at you and go, do it tomorrow. Get a new apartment. Oh, yeah. Why'd I pass this law? I need to pass it so I can make a cheap shot at the guy that was beating me. Yeah, I'm sorry, you gotta get a new fucking house. And if you're so mad at the fact that those laws allow him to live there, who is the governor of New York State while this was in effect? Who is the governor for all those years, you shitbag? Did you say one fucking peep about housing laws in New York City that entire time you were governor? No. Because you didn't care. This piece of shit was responsible for sending over 10,000 people to their deaths in nursing homes, forcing the nursing homes to not test for COVID-positive patients, never spoke to the CDC about this either before or after giving that piece of shit order that killed everybody, tried to cover it up, after that destroys the fucking economy, tells people that ask him, hey, I have to pay my rent, asshole. How the fuck am I supposed to pay my rent? Do I have a right to have a job? How the fuck am I going to pay my rent if you shut down the entire economy? He looks them straight in the eye and says, get a job as an essential worker. Do it tomorrow. But nobody's hiring right now. Do it tomorrow. You're working, aren't you? Yeah, but I'm a fucking reporter, asshole. Not everybody can be a fucking reporter for ABC.
That Cuomo nigga said we couldn't be outside last year. Where we at? Outside!
Does he try to fix any of his fuck-ups? No. Does he take accountability? Of course not. He writes a book about it, painting himself as the hero. Makes several $1 million off of that book that he wrote during government time. This piece of shit can afford a $90,000 a year apartment because he wrote a book on how he destroyed New York City and got paid for it. They asked him to return the money. He never did. The resolution that such repayment was necessary was because Cuomo was illegally entitled to retain compensation received during the book's publication, because he lacked legal authority to engage in outside activity. The panel voted last month to revoke the approval that had granted Cuomo for the book's publication, arguing he violated the conditions of that approval, which included requirements that he write the book in his own personal time without using state resources. So every single time I got a fine for some shit that I didn't do, every single time there was another fucking audit or something, it was so that I could pay for Andrew Cuomo's assistants to help him write his fucking book that he made over $1.4 million off of. And after you make those millions of dollars off that book, after you use the money that you made writing a book on destroying the city on government taxpayer time, you get a $90,000 a year apartment, and you have the fucking gall to call somebody that's a working stiff, actually putting in time and effort trying to clean up his fucking corner of the world, a thief because he lives in a $2,300 a month apartment in Astoria, Queens. Let's put aside for a moment the fact that $2,300 a month in Queens is now considered affordable. A problem that occurred while you were fucking governor, asshole. I'm not a socialist. Socialists don't like me. I'm going to take a wild guess that they don't, but I don't like Weasley pieces of shit either. And if I had to choose between the socialist and Weasley pieces of shit, I gotta say, I'm happy I don't have to vote in New York. I sure as fuck wouldn't be voting for you.